Every crochet pattern is built on logic, even when it doesn't look like it at first. Most of us are taught to follow the steps, count the stitches, and just trust that the pattern is going to work itself out. But behind every pattern is a structure that existed long before the actual instructions were ever even written. Now, in this video, we are going to look at the logic underneath the pattern. The decisions, the repetition, the systems that hold everything together. If you've been following this series, this is where everything is going to finally start to come together. If you're new here, you can absolutely start with this video, but if you'd like the full foundation, you can find the series playlist linked in the description below. Now, patterns aren't instructions that you just obey. They're systems that you learn to read. At its core, a system is a framework or method of organizing the decisions that are made when a designer creates the pattern. When we buy a pattern, they look like instructions. It tells us exactly what to do, but underneath those instructions is a system that is holding the entire design together. Once you start noticing that system, the pattern really starts to make a lot more sense. Designers build outcomes first. They already have visualized what that pattern is going to look like, what that project is going to look like. The instructions always come second. There's always a structure underneath what you're seeing. The written pattern really is just a translation of the design logic. So you're not learning new stitches. Here, you're learning to notice the structure. Once you start seeing that system or structure underneath it, another question naturally shows up, and that's honestly like, where did the system come from in the first place? Because patterns don't build themselves, right? They are built on decisions, and those decisions are really what give the pattern its structure. Those decisions are what make up that system. So once you realize that the patterns are built on decisions, you start noticing where that logic actually shows up. For instance, if a designer chooses a repeat of 6 stitches instead of 5, that affects literally everything. It affects where the increases land, how the corners form, how the symmetry holds. The number wasn't random either. It solved a structural problem. So next time you pick up a pattern, before you even start stitching, pause for a few seconds and look at the repeats. Look at where things are changing. Is it changing throughout the row, or is it changing in several rows? Ask yourself, what is this trying to stabilize? What is this trying to move? What is this decision trying to do? If you see a repeat happening every 4 stitches, that's not random. That is stability. If something changes suddenly over 3 rows, it's not chaos, even though it seems like it at first, it can. That's actually shaping happening. And once you start noticing these decisions and begin to visualize what they're doing, patterns stop feeling unpredictable because it isn't complicated sections or dramatic changes. It's intent. So every stitch solves a problem. Every repeat stabilizes something, and every increase or decrease changes the direction. It changes the shape. Execution really is downstream of decision making. So designers choose first, and then the instructions are written. Repetition really is the skeleton of any design. It creates stability, it creates rhythm, it reveals the designer's intention, and designers really do rely on predictable systems. Most patterns are built from just a very few repeating ideas. For example, this is a design that I made. It's a hat for a horse. Don't judge. I love my horses. Anyway, the repetition stabilizes the designs. It's all made with double crochets. In this pattern specifically, but in any pattern, when you have a repeated stitch, whether it's single crochet, double crochet, treble crochet, that repetition stabilizes that design. It's like the beams in architecture. You need something that holds everything together, and then the rest of it is built around those core stitches. The repetition is here to hold the shape together. It's stabilizing something. It's used to create the rhythm that the designer intended for that design, and also to draw the eye somewhere. So in this example, double crochets make up all of it. How they're put together depends on what I intended for the thing to do. So the structure is the double crochet because it is the entire hat. However, it's also used to create the rhythm for the band and also to draw the eye to this part. This goes over the bridle right here. So it actually draws the eye because I did the color changes, which is a choice, a design choice. And also the pattern itself is the front post and back post double crochet. So those cables draw the eye to the horse's eyes, which is exactly what I wanted. If you've ever looked in a horse's eyes, they literally look into your soul. It is the most beautiful thing in the whole wide world. Anyway, I digress. When you see repetition, you see structure. When you see structure, you really are going to stop second guessing what is going on in the pattern. And you begin to anticipate what's happening instead of reacting to the directions. You start looking for decisions instead of steps, and patterns stop feeling chaotic. And they can feel chaotic. That's what we're trying to reduce right here. They start actually feeling intentional, which is a beautiful thing. So when you start analyzing patterns this way, something very interesting is going to happen. You stop panicking when things look different than what you actually expected. And instead of asking, oh my gosh, did I mess up? You start asking, okay, well, what is this doing? Where are we going? What is happening? That shift from panic to curiosity, that's where the confidence actually begins. It's like a muscle that you build. You're not learning new stitches. That has never been the goal of this series. You're just learning to see things differently. Perspective is everything. So next time you pick up a pattern, pause, take a step back, pump your brakes, and look for the decisions behind what that pattern is telling you to do. If you notice something that you never noticed before, let me know. Come back and tell me. Let's talk about it. So if logic is what holds patterns together, the next step is understanding how the logic shows up in the stitches themselves. Because stitches aren't just decisions, they're actually communication. And in the next video, we're going to look at how the stitches and shapes communicate those decisions. I'll see you in the next one.